Hello there, everybody. It is I, the Vault Dweller, and it has been a while since I've posted anything. And if you're wondering why, it's because, well, here in the Vault, we're studying for the GOAT exam. And if you don't get that, then go play Fallout 3. But anyway, thought I would do an anime review. And then maybe toward the end of the video, talk a little bit about what to expect later. Possibly much later, but later nonetheless. Anyway, anime review first. We're going to talk about Rurouni Kenshin, which is one of my favorite animes ever, if not my number one favorite. So, let's get into this right off the bat. Rurouni Kenshin is the story of Kenshin Himura, who was, called Batosa the Manslayer, a legendary samurai who basically was said to be unbeatable in a sword fight. He's just intensely good. And he fought during the revolution between, I think, the Meiji before the Meiji era, maybe. I can't really remember the chronology there. He since just disappeared and nobody knew what happened to him. Well, he becomes this wanderer, which is where the part Rurouni comes from, if I'm not mistaken. And basically the show follows him living with Kaoru, who runs this dojo, and they acquire more people like Sanosuke and Yahiko and just a bunch of other people. The Kenshin's the main focus, and there's a good bit of internal stuff going on with him. He comes off like the country bumpkin type guy, saying that I am and being kind of polite and very humble, but when he's cornered and under a great amount of stress, he becomes very different, and his eyes change, and he becomes basically reverts back to himself a little bit. And as stress continues more and more, this can be shown in a fight with June and Saito. Saito especially is a good one, and so it follows a lot of his internal struggles with who he's trying to be as well as who he knows he is. And this comes to a head later in the show. Like I said, most of the show follows just him, but so in a sense it's kind of like Trigun, they're just going from place to place. Nothing really super big happens. I mean, things happen, but it's nothing really big until at one point they find out about Shishio, I believe his name is, who is... I believe he's kind of another samurai who's, he fought during the war too, and he's, I think, considered a manslayer. But unlike Kenshin, the other manslayers that show up are a lot less good. They still want to kill the shit out of people, and Shishio kind of wants to just take over the government and cause radical change. And this starts with Kenshin leaving and trying to confront him. And he ends up going back to his teacher who trains him more. And at that point we find out that Kenshin's teacher is pretty much the best swordsman in the show. Which personally for me is kind of a letdown. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Kenshin is a lot younger and probably will succeed him in time, but yeah. Anyway, so overall the story of this show is simplistic, like an overall story type way. It's very simplistic, but it works. And again, like Trigun, it does progress from being kind of fun and kind of quirky to being pretty dark and pretty scary. Unlike Trigun, there's no sci-fi element, so it doesn't feel as weird. Character-wise, I pretty much love every character in this show. It suffers from a couple of problems with some of the characters. For example, there's one character later who I can't really remember her name. It's towards the end when they're fighting Shishio. She's like a ninja girl. She always kind of reminded me of Yuffie. I don't know if any of you know who I'm talking about. I can't ever remember her name. I looked it up just like 5 minutes ago, I swear to God. She's really annoying. Yahiko can be in the beginning. Kaoru even can be. And Sanosuke everybody goes kind of weird ways. Like Sanosuke almost becomes like Krillin from Dragon Ball Z. He stops really being awesome and just becomes kind of like comic relief. Not that he sucks, he just becomes very outclassed, I guess. At least I always felt that way. But other than that, the main cast is good. Everybody has really solid character development, solid backstories, and solid personalities. They're distinct and interesting and engaging, and you feel invested. In fact, there are a couple times in the show during some of the heartfelt moments where you feel very sad. A lot of which are between Kenshin and Yahiko. It's very clear that Yahiko's becoming a successor in this. So much to the point where there's actually, I think, a one-off later where Yahiko has succeeded Kenshin and gotten the reverse blade sword. And which leads me into more about Kenshin's character. Specifically, he has vowed never to kill, so he has a reverse blade sword. And if any fan out there, loves me a lot and you want to send me a reverse blade sword, I won't say no to that. Christmas, guys. Christmas. But anyway, yeah, solid character development. As for the voice acting, everybody does very good. I think I mentioned it again in the Trigun review, but Kenshin is actually Legato from Trigun. Just like Vash is Ichigo from Bleach. I believe Yahiko actually is from Bleach as well. I forget who he is. I want to say he's whatever. But the character, the voice acting is all very well done. I've only ever seen the English version, but it's very well done. Really, what the best thing about this show is, though, the soundtrack. The soundtrack works actually very well. In fact, there's some interesting moments in this soundtrack. It can be pretty, it can be serene, it can be upbeat and kind of quirky. But there are also moments where it's a little askew at times, and there are moments where it just goes away. For example, during a lot of the fights, there will be this weird black and white thing that'll happen to, I think, insinuate that they're going, like, it's kind of a mental thing, like in Hero, where they plan out the battle. It's kind of like that, except it's like super speed and like the clash of two swordsmen's spirits or whatever. And like there can be silence there, but up till then there would be this weird pseudo avant-garde thing, and it's pretty awesome actually to see the show do that. There's a lot of preachiness about swords used to protect, and Kenshin, who's like very young but very wise at the same time, is like, swords can't be used to protect, they're made to be killed, but that idealistic swords can protect people is what I want to believe anyway, kind of thing, which is really which feeds again into his psychological trauma and his emotional trauma, but also makes him kind of a tragic hero that you want to see accept this idealistic bullshit that swords can help people when, even when they're helping people, chances are you're killing somebody at the same time, Overall, though, I mean, this is a highly recommended anime for me. Anybody who hasn't seen it should definitely check this out. It's one of my favorites. And the art style, it's very traditional. It feels very, very organic, which is another thing I really enjoy about it. It feels like it belongs in the era it's set in, and I like that a lot. So yeah, Rurouni Kenshin, definite checkout for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. Now, quickly I want to talk about one more thing, and this is not anime related, so if you don't really care, then go ahead and go. But videos will come very slowly for a while, because I'm, studying for the GOAT, aka I'm in college. So, sorry about that, I can't really do anything. However, I do plan to do more anime reviews, do plan to do more game reviews too. I have plans for all of these things. It's just hard to get, footage, and record, and do the skits, and write the scripts, and what the fuck else ever. So, Gotta be patient with me, please. Another thing quickly wanted to say is that I plan on doing bigger and better game reviews at some point. I'm not sure when that'll be, but I do have a plan to do a game review of Dragon Age 2. Hopefully around the time Dragon Age 3 comes out, I'll be able to start that, so that way I can do Dragon Age 3 as well, as a playthrough for Dragon Age 3. Because I got some huge hang-ups with Dragon Age 2. Huge hang-ups. So, but, we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, some of this stuff might not be for a while. Hopefully, maybe it'll be sooner than I think. Either way, please be patient, and I thank you for the patience you've had so far, and continue watching The Experiment, because there's definitely more to come. Haven't abandoned my fans, the few that there are, and hopefully the many that there will be. Anyway, that's it for this rendition of anime reviews. Next week we'll talk about Mushishi. Mushishi? Gotta learn the pronunciation for that one.